All right, hi guys. Welcome to today's meeting. So yeah, we're going to start immediately. We've already wasted 5 minutes. So Reda is going to start us off with the demo.
Yeah. Hey everyone, and let's see. So we have, okay, Ibrahim is joining also. But let's try with Khadija and Sandy, right?
Good everybody.
Hi Ibrahim,
Hi,
how are you?
Ibrahim. You're welcome.
Okay, so if that's fine with you, let's start with Khadija and Sandy first, and then we go.
All right, no problem.
Okay.
So let me share my screen. So I believe you can all see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's not showing the updated version of the application. We worked on a filter search. So ideally there's supposed to be a search bar here. And
Okay,
I'm using the live link.
Do you get full from the main?
Let me give you another link and maybe
No, I'm not working from the local host. I'm using the live site link.
Can you try to hard load? Shift. Are you on Mac? On Windows? Shift.
Okay, let me do that.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it's working now. So our issue for this week is to add the search filter feature in the list page. So we have a search bar. We use the input type as equals to search for it, and then it has a label of filter items attached to it. So when a user starts typing, it automatically filters down the list based on what search value the person has under it. So something like this. Let's have ES, and you can clear the search input using the X here, and then it will clear it instantly. So that's what we worked on for this week. Sandy will present the code, and that's it.
Okay.
Sandy, are you trying to share your screen?
Yes, I'm trying to share my screen now.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes. Okay. We started by setting the initial state of the search of the state of the filtered array and the search them to an empty string. Then we wrote a function. We defined a handle change function that updates the search term whenever the user types into the search input field. So we did the return statement for the search input field in a form, and then we wrote a label for the filter items, filled the form, and then we added an onChange handle change function that updates the search value. Next, we use the map method to map over the filtered array to render the items in an unordered list. That's from line 37 to 40.
Hello, I'm not hearing anything. Hi, Sandy. Are you still talking about the code?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now, yes.
Okay. I think I'm done.
Okay, so I have one question is where did you filter the items?
We filtered the items in the use effect where we
Okay.
have the data,
Line
and then we
9.
use the filter function to search for the
Mhm.
search value inside the list. And then we set it using the set filtered items.
All right. All right, great. Everything is working. Does anyone else have any questions?
Nope. None from me.
All right, so let's move on to Alessandra and Ibrahim.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Ibrahim.
Okay. I think I will be presenting the functionality of our code while Alexandra will explain the code to us.
Okay.
I'm going to share my screen now. I think I have it here. Right. Okay.
Sure. You are trying to share your screen, right?
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we can see it.
Okay. So as you can see on the home page now, we have the create new list button that has been there before from previous okay, so and then we have from previous work, and then we have a new work now. Join an existing shopping list by entering a free word token, which is what the functionality that we design now is a way for a user to share
Oh,
a token. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Ibrahim. Keep going.
Okay,
All
okay.
good. Yep.
It's a functionality whereby a user who has a token with them already can just use that token to join an existing list. So once they have the 3 word token, they are going to put it here, and then if the token is correct or there is an existing list for that token or the list is not empty, they are going to be able to access the list. So, for example, but if the token is wrong, then we are going to have a message that display that their token, the token they enter is either wrong and they should try again. So let's give a wrong 3 token. So here now, as you can see, so the list you entered, you can see the error message down there that the list you entered is empty or it does not exist. So, however, if you enter a right token, Alexander, please can you remind me any token that we have that is correct?
Yes, you can use my test list.
Okay, my test list. So if you put my test list, which is the correct,
You need to use the lowercase for the M.
yeah, yes. So now, as you can see, if the token is correct, then it's going to bring the shopping list under that token for the user. I think that's the end of the functionality. That's the end of the functionality. So Alexander can go ahead to give us the working of the code that we use to make the component. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Ibrahim. Yes, we
Okay,
can hear
I'm
you.
going
Can
to
hear
stop
you.
here now.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. I hope you can see my screen. If not, please let me know. So we are in the home component. Yes. In the home page, I will show you first the JSX. So what you actually kind of see displayed on the screen. This is the button that we had already implemented and everything else. So from line 51 to the bottom is new. So everything you saw has been wrapped in a form so that once we submit the 3 words token, so the string, whether if we press on the button to submit or simply press enter, the string is going to be submitted and checked to see if it corresponds to a shopping list. And then, yeah, we have some text, we have a label that wraps, label with a text to say share token, that wraps an input of type text, where you have an ID that matches the one of the label to allow for the user to click on share token and already have the input text in focus. And then the value of the input text corresponds to a token input value, which we have declared as state. So we have actually declared 2 states, one we can see now and the other one is for later. One is called token input, which represents, again, the 3-word string, the 3-word text that is going to be added in the input text. It starts, of course, because it's an input controlled input text, it starts as an empty string, and then as you type, something happens, which we're going to see in a second with the function that we have with the onChange event listener. Where if you change something, so if you type something, we call the set token input function and set the token input from empty string to whatever the typing, so with e.target.value. And then, as I was mentioning before, we have a button that will allow us, if we click on it, to submit the form. Otherwise, we can do it with the enter key. Now, talking about submitting, the submitting is triggered within the form tag. So the event is on submit, and we have this function called submit share token, which we can see together. And this is kind of the core of our code. So this was already from previous. This code was already from a previous week. We can take a look then of the logic from line 20 on. So submit share token, of course, the first thing we do, because we are submitting a form, is that we have to prevent the default. And then we're going to check a few things. First of all, we kind of validate that actually there is some text that has been submitted. If the token input has length of 0, so it's empty text, we have a timeout, and within the timeout an error message. So we have an error message that's set within a state that will last 3 seconds to say, please enter a token, otherwise you're not submitting anything. So say that the token input length is not 0, we move on to what happens after. What we had to do here is that we had to check whether the string corresponds to actually a collection, like a shopping list in our database. And in order to do it, we took advantage of 2 hooks that we already had set in our repo that we can find, if I'm not mistaken, in muted. No, it's not here. It's probably an API Firebase. So it's some Firebase functions that we already had available to us, and we actually are using in app.js and are exported from API Firebase. Namely, I'm going back to home. They are called get item data and stream list items. We imported them and we call them here. And we pass to stream list items the input that has been captured by the text input. And what we do here is that, first of all, we check by calling the other function we imported, get item data, if there is a collection that corresponds to this token input you find on line 31. And whatever it is as a result of calling get item data, we place it, we store it in the variable next data. And then what we do is, and which is an array always. It's like by definition, by the way it was built by whatever developers from the Collab lab built this. If the next data array is empty, is not empty, sorry. So if it contains Shopee list items, it means that the list exists. And we can then use the set list token, which is a prop that we also use somewhere else in the code. And we do it to store this string, which is the token in local storage. And we have it. And by definition, if there is a list token, this is something we did last week, you will be get redirected to the list component. So this is if there is a match. If there is no match, we set an error message to the list you entered is empty or it does not exist, with the same approach as before. So we place this in a set timeout, and then we reset a set error message to empty. So the message will only appear for 3 seconds. That's it.
Yeah, thank you, Alessandra and Ibrahim. Thank you for your amazing demo. Does anyone have any question?
No, not from me. Well done,
All right,
guys. Really nice.
well done. That's great. I have one question, and I am wondering if we should use the stream list items function, because the stream list items, what it's doing is actually like listening. It's a real-time listening to the changes in the database.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if, I guess there is a method for getting the data just once, instead of listening to the I don't know if it's there in Firebase, but I think anyway, everything is working. I'm just wondering if there is a specific reason why you are using the stream list.
We
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
no, please.
Actually, I think we are using the stream list because we thought what the stream list is doing, the stream list item, what it's doing on the Firebase API is to get the data that we sent in the Firebase. So we are just looking for a way to get the data that we sent there. So if we are able to get the data that is already on the Firebase, then we can actually use the list token to query it and get what we need.
Okay. The reason why we are using it in the home page, because we need like a real-time feedback. So for example, if you change something on the Firestore, it will like reflect directly in your application. That's why we are using these functions. It's like its name actually. So stream list items is its name is actually explaining what it's doing. So it's streaming whatever in the Firestore. It's like a real-time listening. So how can I explain that? So it's instantly giving you like feedback if you change something. If you either add the list if you add an item either in the Firestore or like directly in the Firestore console or through your application, it will reflect directly in your UI in your list items. But I guess there is another function that we can use anyway, that we can use just to to get the data just
Because
once and check instead of keep listening, because the stream list item is actually like listening to the changes in Firestore. So whenever there is a change in the Firestore, it's trigger again. But anyway, great job, and it's working. I can share with you like a link later if you want to change days later. But great job overall.
yes, I think we appreciate the link because I thought what we needed then was to use a get function just to get the items that are on the server.
Yes,
So when
yes,
we saw
exactly.
the string items there, so we thought that okay, our jobs have already been simplified for us. So okay, but we appreciate another way or another method of doing it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
I agree. I agree. Thank you.
Anytime. Okay, so I guess Shamaka will now like present a learning module. If
Before we
Before
do
nobody-
that,
it,
I
can
have a question, please.
I
Yeah,
have
sure.
one too, but you can go first, Khadija.
Oh, okay. So the stream list items functions is a bit confusing to me. This function that you passed into it, what is the snapshot exactly?
So this function takes two parameters, or uses the token input. Actually in the app component, it takes the actual token. You have it here on line 35. In our case, we have to do it a little differently in home because we actually don't know if it is a token. And then based on whatever it is that you have, so it is token input, then there is this this function. And the snapshot, from my understanding of Firebase through the research I did this week, the snapshot is a picture of your database at a certain moment in time. So what you have with the IDs and with the items inside. So let me go take a look at the function itself. And based on the snapshot, we call the other function. We call the get item data, which, let me pull it again, will map through the elements, the documents in the snapshot, and produce an array of something. It might be empty if there is nothing inside, or it might have items if there are actually shopping list items inside it. But maybe the mentors can explain it better.
Okay.
Yeah, you actually did great explaining that. You can say it's just a copy of your data, the snapshot, but as I said before, the snapshot is actually like listening to the data, so it's give you like a stream of your data in Firestore. So it's if anything changes in Firestore, or it's kind of listening to what's happening in the Firestore. So whenever something is changes, the snapshot will change also and give you like the kind of a copy of your data in that specific time or in that specific moment. Yep, you can read more about it in the documentation, and I will send you like for both.
Okay,
I can send you both links later in the Slack, and also can discuss this in the office hours later.
Okay.
I think Alessandra wanted to ask a question.
No,
Yep.
actually, you just answered it as well.
Okay.
All right then. Guess you can go over to our presentation, which is on pair programming, which we've been doing, since we started. But today we're going to just go through it, and then it's going to be more like a discussion, more like just giving you the actual definition of pair programming and then hearing from you, how it's been so far that you've been doing with your teammates. So yeah, pair programming at the Collab Lab. So we're going to look at the mindset and attitude of pair programming. Pairing is an exercise in sharing your Lego it can be more efficient to go with your pairing partner's idea than to argue on approach. So this is just like the mindset. Okay. So this is just like the mindset and attitude, of pair programming. So you just have to have in mind that it's more efficient when you go with your pairing partner's idea than to argue and approach. Like, it's just like a beginner's mind where you embrace doubt and possibility. It's not about teaching nor mentorship. It's an opportunity to learn. So you're just approaching it with a mindset of, you're going to learn, you're not going to argue, you're not going to like bring your own, insist on your own method, insist on your own approach. You're seeing it as an opportunity to learn. So in pair programming, there is the drivers and then there is the navigators. We'll see more of that, but just the one liner, the drivers seek agreement before proceeding, because, okay, we are going to go through it on the next slide. So, and then the navigator, they are telling you that the kind of mindset you should bring is ask, don't tell. And then for the driver, seek agreement before proceeding. So let's see more about the driver and the navigator. So, but before that, pair programming is just two developers sitting together in front of a computer, and then they take turn to write code using just one keyboard. So there are two people writing code with one computer, one keyboard, but two of them are contributing. So between the two developers, one of them is the driver, the other one is the navigator. The driver controls the keyboard and is responsible for writing the code they need in order to complete the task. The person will try to verbalize their thinking process as much as they could and think low level about the code. And then there is the navigator. The navigator pays more attention and close attention to the code the driver is writing, offering guidance, suggesting alternatives, finding answers to upcoming questions. Like they easily Google, find answers, look up things while the driver is writing the code, and they act as a sounding board for the ideas the driver is coming up with. So that is the navigator. They think with a bird eye view of the code. So the navigator is just like someone that is like away from the code and just taking a look at everything and how it's going and offering guidance, while the driver is actually writing the code and then while verbalizing their thinking process. So it's kind of a joint effort. So this is how it goes. There are a ton of materials and tools, that helps with pair programming remotely. That is when you're not on site with the other developer. But incredible collaboration can happen in a very simple setup. So there are two developers and they hop on a call, a video call, or they share their screen. And then the driver shares the screen and codes while navigator provides feedback and asks questions. And then there is also the driver pushes the code to remote repo, and then navigator pulls down the code locally. The driver and navigator swap roles and goes back to step one. And then they start all over again. They hop on a call, write code together. They do their different roles, the driver, navigator, you push your code, the other person brings it down, and then happens all over again, and it rotates roles. So that's basically pair programming. Very simple, straight to the point. So yeah, that's the brief intro we have for you. So we want to hear how it's been so far. I know we've talked about it a little when you guys were talking about the was it the VS Code extension that you are using to pair? Yeah. So how is that going? How has the experience been so far? So you guys are going to take turns to speak. Who presented first today? That was Sandy, right? No, that was Khadija. Okay, so yeah, Khadija, you're going first.
Well, it was okay when you were talking about the whole concept of the driver and navigator. I kind of observed that during our pair programming session, yes, one of us is typically a driver and the other one is a navigator. And then also, I think we can listen better to other people's input and not insist on our own ideas. And that's it.
Yeah, that's a very good thing to take away from the presentation, because that's really what it's talking about. Like, it's less about mentoring or directing, it's more about hearing other people's ideas and learning. So that's the entire point of it. All right, I think it's Sandy's turn.
Yeah. So basically, for me, pair programming have been about sharing ideas, just like you said, because during the course of the pair programming, we came together to like share ideas, and it was really interesting to share ideas with people. Unlike when you're coding alone, you get to like brainstorm and research on your own. But this one, someone else is bringing an idea that you don't know, and it's actually very easy to navigate. So I think that's all.
Yeah. What about you, Alexandra? How has it been so far?
It's been quite nice. I do like having the VS Code live share, even though you're right, we should have just one person coding at a time, which hasn't always happened, but we can definitely do it from now on, like at a time, like taking turns. But it's good because you can really see the code as if it was your own VS Code, even though you don't necessarily have to touch it. I agree with what the rest of the team said. Perhaps the most difficult part for me is when neither person really knows what to do. And in that case, for example, I think we had it last week with Sandy. We did take a break for the day and we met the day after or 2 days later, and we took 1 day to research. Because sometimes, yeah, after a while, I think if you're two, you could go on for a long time and hitting walls. I think it's just good also to remind ourselves to take breaks since we have a week. That's it.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, it's my turn. All right. Okay. Actually, I think pair programming is all about sharing ideas with each other and actually seeing from other points of view. Like when we are writing code now, you can easily learn from each other, and then you can see how others think, too, especially in terms of code that has to deal with logic. Although from this presentation now, I noticed that when we were doing our own pair programming, it's mostly uh, one person writing the code and the other actually looking at it. But it's not like we usually designate someone to be the driver or the other one to be the navigator. So I don't know if that way too is an acceptable way of doing something like that, whereby there won't be a designated navigator or driver, that any of us at any point in time can just be the one writing the code while the other actually pay attention to what the person is writing, and then we use that to solve the problem together. So that's my main thing.
Yeah, so it's just like one person, sharing their screen, writing the code, and then maybe you have a topic, a task about, for example, implementing a button, and then the driver will be like, okay, how do we go about this? We'll start by creating a div, and then the navigator will be like, yeah, I think that works, and then putting a text in it. And then maybe you are trying to remember a CSS property, and both of you don't remember. So the navigator can easily go to Google and check, what's that CSS property to do this, and then the navigator comes back to the driver like, this is what I found, and then they continue. So that personally, I've benefited from pair programming a lot. When I was in my former job, I had this senior developer that, he's always kind enough to do pair programming with me, and then he would be writing, and I'm just like learning and seeing things from different perspectives. Like, I wouldn't have done this way. And now that I've seen you doing it, it's really, really important. And then it gets registered in my mind. So it's really helpful, both in real life, when you work for tech companies, it's something that is very helpful, a learning opportunity, actually. All right. So yeah, that's.
I have one other point sorry, Shamaka. I have one other
Mhm.
point to add to what Khadija said about acceptance others' ideas. Is even if you see that the person who writing code is doing something wrong, in your perspective, that he's doing something wrong or the code won't work, just let it go. Just keep going with the idea. Maybe it will turn out like a good thing, and maybe it will turn out as an amazing idea, and maybe it will be really wrong. But for both ways, it will benefit you, because even if what he's doing is wrong, it may give you another ideas how to solve the problem or whatever. So accepting other ideas, their programming is really useful.
Yeah.
It's a win-win in the end.
And even if it's wrong, you will know it get registered in your mind that you should never try that again. The last time you did it, it didn't work. That happens to me a lot. I have a lot of things that, no, this method is not going to work. I've tried it, it's not working. So yeah, a learning experience. All right, so we're going to go through the issues now.
Okay, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
This Zoom bar is killing me. Okay, so let's start with the first issue. As a user, I want to see welcome prompt to add my first item if my list is empty to help me get oriented to how the app works. So when a user starts a new list, they need a little guidance on how to get started. So think through what you will want to see as a user and make some intentional user experience decision that will guide our users and confidently add in their very first item. So the acceptance criteria is in the list view component. When there are no items to display, it should show a prompt in a button for the user to add their first item. So let's see the wireframe. It's pretty much simple issue. So all what you need to do is if the shopping list is empty, to add a welcome, not a welcome, but like a guidance here that saying your list is empty, and also a button that will redirect the user to the add item to add their first item. Yeah, and that's it for this issue. Let's move on to. Do you have any question about this issue? Okay, so let's move on to the second one. So as a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased so the app can learn how often I buy different items. So users need a UI that allows them to mark their item as purchased so they can track what on their list they do and do not need to buy. The acceptance criteria is in the list item component renders a checkbox with a semantic label. Checking of the item in the UI also updates the date last purchased and the total purchases properties on the corresponding Firestore document. So you already did the functionality to add an item, but you didn't touch these two properties. In this issue, you will like update them. The items is shown as check for 24 hours after the purchase is made. So we assume the user does not need to buy the item again for at least 1 day. So after 24 hours, an item uncheck itself so the user can buy it again. The update item function in Firebase has been filled out, so it's already there. This update item is already there, and you just need to send the update to the Firestore database when an item is checked or unchecked. So, by the way, Shamak, I didn't find the wireframe here. So maybe I will send you the link and you can, or maybe we can add it as a comment. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, this is the wireframe. So
Yeah.
this issue is to add the checkbox for the items. So the items, they will be like a checkbox. So the label for the checkbox is the item name. And you will be able, so when you check an item, that means it's purchased. And it will like uncheck itself after like a day, after 24 hours. So that's it for this issue. There is a note here. So while you will need to update multiple parts of the Firestore document for this feature, do not worry about the date next purchased. So in this update item, you will update the date last purchased and the total purchases, but do not worry about this property yet. You will handle it in the incoming issues. And this is about like testing. So you can use the Firestore console to test that this feature is working correctly by manipulating the value of the date last purchase. So this is confusing to the most of collabies, but so in order to test this issue, you need to make sure that after 24 hours, the item uncheck itself. And to do that, you won't wait like 24 hours just to test. So what you can do is to go to the Firebase console, and here you have the Firestore database, and you can manipulate that here. So you can manipulate the date here. So the date last purchase, I guess. So let me see. Yep. So here it's nil, so it doesn't give me to update the date, but let me, for example, let me just do it here for just for demonstration purposes. So what you can do, for example, is to test that your issue is working correctly, is just to press the edit button and then, like, for example, change the date to like a day before. So for example, you check the item 25 April, you can make it 23. So that will allow you to make sure that it's like simulating that 24 hours has passed, and you press updates. And that's it. Any questions? All right.
I have a
Yep. Yeah.
So this side we don't have to worry about the date updating the date last purchase. So also we don't have to worry about number of purchases as well.
No, you need to update the date last purchase and the total purchases, but you don't need to worry about this date to next purchase.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is the one that you don't need to worry about it or change it. Okay, I change it now in the Firestore just for demonstration purposes. It's not the one that you should actually
okay.
change. Yeah, because when I went here, so we still have here this nil, so I couldn't change the date. It doesn't have a type, I guess. Yep. And that's it. Another thing while I'm talking about issues is I noticed that I think the 6th issue, yeah, this one hasn't been closed yet. I guess Sandy and Khadija worked on it, and that's because in your merge request, you did this closes and you added issue number 6. So when you do this, GitHub doesn't close it automatically. So you just need to say closes and the number of the issue. You don't need to add this here, this issue. So in order for GitHub to close issues automatically, you just need to, it's a keyword. So closes and the number of the issue. So you can go ahead and close this issue because it's done. Yeah, that's it. And any preferences? Who wants what? Okay, so I will assign issues randomly then.
Yeah, thank you, Reda.
Shamaka, can you give me the pairs for this week, please?
All right. So we can talk about who is doing office hour reviewing code this week. It's in the chat. So Khadija and Alexandra, Peace and Ibrahim.
Okay, so
yeah. So for this week, you can tag Reda for your review, and then we'll have our office hours on Wednesday, so that to just like check in on you guys and know if you need any help. So Wednesday by 5 p.m. GMT. Anyone that is available can just come. And before then, if you're stuck or if you have any questions, you can always, like, you know how we do it on Slack. So yeah, so far so good. We've been using that. So all right. There's nothing else.
So I assigned Sandy and Ibrahim to issue number 7. So the first issue, and Khadija and Alessandra with.
Okay, this and Ibrahim. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's it.
That's it. Maybe there is nothing else. We can close and see you guys on Slack. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.